I'm Director of Policy and Technical Affairs, which is actually a wonderful job, and I genuinely mean that, because what it means I need to do is understand everything that goes on in highways and transportation, and as you might imagine, that's quite difficult to capture it all. So what we decided to do as a learned society at CIHT was just come up with some themes that we would use to shape our work around influencing, around sort of the technical side of things and moving into the policy. So what are we going to say to government about what it is that our sector does and capture all the good bits? And we came up with 5 themes which are listed on the screen in front of you. And we're covering those across the 2 days today and tomorrow at Highways UK. We've had contribution of transport already this morning. This session's looking at resilience. So for the next few minutes, I just want to talk about what we mean by resilience at CIHT, because I suspect it means different things to different ones of you, depending on what you're doing across our sector. And the question we came up with is, actually, how do we create networks that are resilient in all senses of the word? And that all senses is important because it does mean different things. So we've got Satbir from Hounslow Highways, who are doing a 25-year highways maintenance PFI, which is about a resilience over a long period across a number of assets. We've got David from FM Conway talking about resilience in materials. What does that mean? So different things, all connected. So that's what we're going to be doing. The traditional sense of resilience that we often get is actually a reaction to a series of events. And over the years I've been both a member of CIHT and in this role, we've been reacting to something that's gone wrong, generally because of weather-related, where our networks haven't been as resilient as we might have wanted. So a whole series of things where there's been reports produced on why networks haven't been resilient. I'm not going to go through the detail of them. 2009 UK Roads Liaison Group, that led to a change in winter service guidelines coming out. Further, with severe winter weather, Secretary of State, politicians getting very interested and people upset about why networks didn't cope with severe winter weather. So again, lessons learned from the severe weather of winter 2009-10. 2014, more around flooding this time. A transport resilience review. All of these coming out with recommendations, and people like ourselves in CIHT putting evidence in to say how we might make things better. And just opening up the final one at the bottom, resilience isn't just about the technical side of what we do, it's about the people that we've got to do it with, because that in itself is a resilience issue. If we haven't got the right people with the right skills and the right resources, we're not going to have resilient transport networks. So from our point of view, we came up with this scope for resilience. So the first point, it's multidisciplinary. We should be looking across the piece. We shouldn't just be looking at one area around resilience. It's got to be about design, about building, maintaining and delivering transport infrastructure. So what is it that we need to have in place for that? There's a whole range of issues that brings that we've got to think about as a sector. So sustainability, what we do now, is that going to be right for the future? Adaptability, things are uncertain. So we've done the CIHT Futures report that looked at uncertainty moving forward. So how do we deal with that? How do we build in being able to adapt networks? How do we respond when things happen? So security, a key issue at the moment. What will that mean for our networks of the future? Environmental uncertainty, winter weather, flooding is going to continue to get worse, not better. So how do we cope for that? How do we look forward? Economic changes. We're struck this morning by Peter talking about the project in Hertfordshire where they got PFI credits. In 2010 they lost those because of austerity. We've got Brexit at the moment that none of us know what that's going to mean for us as a sector. We might have our own views about it, but how do we build that in? And then a huge one, technological change. 10 years from now, will our networks still be being used in the same way? We're almost certainly going to have some form of autonomous vehicles on there. What does that mean for our networks, particularly in urban realm? And importantly, how do we resource all of that, both in physical terms, through materials, through the money that we've got to both build and invest, but importantly maintain and use as a resource for the future, but also this skills issue. What skills are we going to need moving forwards? So our view, and this comes across in our policy statements, in what we do to government, is that case for certainty and continuity of investment across all networks. It's the fundamental thing that underpins it. It looks like we've made the case, and the case has been listened to on the strategic network. It looks as though we're going to get a roads fund at last that takes income from people who drive on the strategic network to fund the strategic network. So that, for me, starting 30 years ago, that wasn't heard of. That was a dream. So that looks like it might come out. The question from our point of view, what does that mean for local networks? Because they are all one network, and that's a thing that we continue to push the government. It's no good just looking at the strategic networks. We need to look at skills development. We need investment to understand how we get the right skills into our sector. And we continue to promote diversity and inclusion. Just on a simple sense, it's an absolute nonsense that we don't have representation from all our population into our sector, and that has to change. It's just a simple argument, it really has to. We've identified the need in various of our responses to some of those reviews about the need for resilience assessments. Let's make it a statutory duty on highway and transport authorities to understand which bits of their network are vulnerable to certain circumstances. If we do that, then we could stand a chance for making the case for investment. The whole issue around security is going to be one that continues. What's that going to mean for our networks moving forwards? We're working closely with the security services to get guidance out to make sure that what we do has security embedded in it. And finally, I'll leave you, we've managed through the work of our trustees to put aside some funding to fund research. We're just coming out with that in the next month or so. It will be around local transport infrastructure. So those of you working in companies in the sector or for research organisations, please have a look out for that, or come and talk to me. We want to do some proper research into what local transport infrastructure needs moving forward to get some evidence to make the case for doing it better.